Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests bring you leading-edge astrology conversations through a journey of soul growth patterns connecting astrology's energetic cycles. Get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello again, this is Sue Minahan, the founder and host of Talk Cosmos. Insightful conversations, awakening your consciousness. And today we have a special guest, the president of the Astrological Lodge of London, Israel Ajose, who's been on before and a member of our Astro Jam panel. But we're speaking about the powerful Scorpio Lunar Eclipse that's coming up on May 5th after the solar eclipse. It's all a little bit ahead of now, but not that far. That brings empowerment through transforming our perspectives. There's so many dynamics. So Scorpio, it's a fixed water sign, intense focus, and deep, passionate emotions, but it has a clear purpose. So it eliminates and it figures out what's giving life, what's supporting the life support. So with that said, I will now introduce our wonderful guest. And if we could, thank you very much for that slide there. Israel Ajose is the current president of the Astrological Lodge of London. And there's one website which is on the screen for those people with the YouTube, and for those that are in podcasts, it's astrolodge.co UK. And it's and also on our website, you can find that. And Israel is a full-time practitioner, teacher of astrology, the tarot, philosophical and esoteric techniques, which we will involve. Today I'm fascinated with that perspective. And Israel studied and completed full honors in psychological astrology at the Center of Psychological Astrology in London with Liz Green, not to be redundant. And his personal email or website is sacredplanets.com. He's a dedicated student, teacher of astrology and tarot. And Israel combines traditional, medieval, psychological, and Vedic techniques for his guidance, answers, and consultations. And his email is astrologyofthesoul@gmail.com. And much of his studies and practices include cosmology, mythology, which I dearly love, occult, sciences, Kabbalah, I love, shamanism, and divination. So it's very exciting. Hello, and thank you.
Thank you for having me. What a great introduction. It's a long list.
Well, and you said, yes, it is. And it has such depth. And so I pulled up on some of the slides, different factors, but I'm eager to hear in all of this, anything that you pull out for a reference will be very wonderful. Yeah,
no, most definitely. But no, wonderful to be here. It's been a while. And great to speak about the upcoming lunar eclipse in Scorpio on the 5th of May. It's a great time to, that time of the year, the eclipse seasons, as I call them. We normally have roughly about 4 a year, but some years we do have 5, sometimes 6 actually. But this year I believe it's only 4. I believe.
Yes.
It's
potent ones.
Very potent ones. Yeah, they're always quite potent. And because these are because the nodes are then going to be shifting signs. I believe in July.
Yes, the 18th, I think.
Yeah. So they're going to be shifting signs into Libra and Aries. The Aries Libra axis. So I suppose that's quite also showing us here somewhat of an ending on some kind of level, because it's like it's moving sign. So this is the last eclipses, before they change signs.
So, thank you, Israel. I find that so fascinating because they're both relational Taurus and Scorpio, the survival and how we exchange our resources, as with Scorpio. But then with Aries, it's very much the self and then the other. But the point is too that we have the Venus star point. There's so many before and after, because it's the Venus star point is in Libra, 29 degrees, but the falling one in 2026 is going to be back to Scorpio.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's just one indication of. You're right. It's really,
we get these, if you want to say, patterns, and the cosmos. We have to remember is a living entity. It's a living organism, and it's sending out messages. So there's no accidents or no coincidences, and it speaks to us in various ways, and in various languages, we could also say as well, in various patterns. So it's quite interesting how things get picked up, zodiac degrees and particular zodiac signs that are coming up, and lunations and eclipses and ingresses, and where planets stop and they station, and like the Venus points also as well.
Yes.
So we have these sensitive degrees, as we know, in the zodiac. We've got the 360 degree zodiac, and we have these sensitive points. And it's quite interesting that when we do have these, whether it's lunation or in this case obviously an eclipse, how it picks up, or how they pick up these sensitive points and they land in these sensitive points, and it's telling us a story.
I love that. I love the word pattern and story. It's so powerful. Nathan, can we have the slides? Okay. This particular eclipse on May 5th, as far as from England, Europe, and the United States will be on May 5th. So the coordinated universal time, because it's summer times, it's going to be at 4:33. But for Greenwich Mean and British Summer time, it'll be BST, it'll be at 5:33 p.m. And then moving to the continent here in North America, for the Eastern time zone, which includes Canada and parts of Mexico, will be at 1:33 in the afternoon. And then moving across to the West Coast is, of course, 3 hours earlier in the morning, 10:33. And including Arizona, like Hawaii, that never changes time, because here in Hawaii, that's still on standard time. It's going to be 7:33 in the morning. So for people can check that. But it is a Saros, and I didn't know how we would talk about this, but there's that long 1,200, actually for this 1,200 years, that's like 12 centuries of time zone. And it started, so it's 141. It's a lunar Saros. And it started in 1608. Interestingly, at that time, just, we can either discuss it or not, or go on. But it's a pivotal year for Shakespeare, which of course is one of, between the Bible and Shakespeare, most read around the world. And he shifted his whole focus, which is interesting, from characters, people, to the plot. Isn't that interesting? With South Node in Scorpio of the psychological reasons of why.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel we're getting some of the stuff. What I'm seeing today is, for example, there's this huge energy of the AI, and the chat GPT and things like that. And so we're seeing also, although things have changed obviously since 1608, but in modern times, of course, we're now using computers and cell phones and things like that. But we're seeing a huge revolution, a huge change, just like in the days in 1608 with Shakespeare and the transitioning in terms of literature. We're seeing that also now, but it's with the AI. AI now in some ways, like replacing aspects, or shifting how we think. Now we're going to have to shift the way we think and communicate on some level, because this AI is now sort of like shifting. So I'm seeing sort of like patterns again echoing.
I like that, because the story, when you think about what unifies. Shakespeare, of course, told stories. And at that time, it would be like our major music people. Everybody listened to it, and it changed the consciousness. And here what you're saying is that AI, with this new form of communication, is taking a whole new step ahead. And the other thing for the United States, because we just had this Pluto return, which of course there's many different charts, but the independence one. But interestingly, 1608, Jamestown had just been founded with the Mayflower and all those early ships from England. But it had this terrible winter, sub-zero temperatures, and John Smith, who was a governor, this is a big legend here, was out checking out for food. And then there was a Powhatan hunting party. Now, these Powhatan in North American Indians were 30 tribes in this confederacy. This is like really a country of itself. This is huge of magnitude. His youngest daughter was Pocahontas, which now has been made into a Lee, who is the famous singer, Peggy Lee, sings Pocahontas, with a song. But they shared food that winter to help, which amazingly is not our first Thanksgiving. But anyway, they saved his life and it goes on. But then also, so what I'm getting at is that for this nation that needs to be in review of like, hey, what was our beginnings and how can we improve in my mind, and I think many people practice the theory, from theory to practice, like really enhance if we're for all the people, be for all the people. But interestingly, that year too was the first execution. And as a result, a few years later in Virginia, they had a law that was divine, moral, and martial laws that little tiny things were being punished for. So the stories change, and AI will be.
Of course.
Yeah. Here's a chart. And I know for those that can't see it, I'll just say that it is the one we're using
is the way we're using
London.
the GMT, The Libra rising, I believe.
Yep, 25 degrees.
Yeah.
And it has in red, there's a T-square, Pluto, planet of transformation, is going before the past and the future, which is so powerful. And then there is this,
I think there's the T-square with depending. Well, there's a T-square with the nodes. The nodes.
With the nodes.
With the nodes, there's but Jupiter's not too far away. Even though Jupiter's in Aries, he's coming to the end. He's sort of like within. If I don't know, people who work with like 5-degree orbs. Or maybe if you're working even with 3-degree orbs, Jupiter's sort of like nearby, So I don't know if Jupiter's gonna inflate or can enlarge and sort of like make it bigger than it is, or by him not being too far away from that. But it's mainly Pluto that's in that T-square. So
and I think that has some value, Israel, because it is in Aries, and I know for myself, I've been reflecting since the Sun and Jupiter were conjunct my even nature, who I think I am with Libra, has not been so even nature. It's like I'm used to, and I'm going, because I'm being pretty demonstrative in my thoughts. So I imagine others are too.
Most definitely. And it's been quite interesting because the Sun is now moving away because, there was, obviously we have the conjunction with the Sun and Jupiter, just like what you said. So, even traditionally and even still in modern times, that would make, any planet close to the Sun is combust.
Like Uranus right now, if I may jump
exactly.
in. It is
so
in this chart,
and which means it cannot be seen. It's not it's not visible. When a planet is within 15, 17 degrees actually away within the sun's there, that means it cannot be seen with the physical eye. We cannot see it in the sky because the sun's too bright. It's going to block it out.
Yeah.
So very often what tends to happen, the energy of that planet tends to go sort of like hidden in some kind of way, and then something like whatever's hidden actually comes to the surface or becomes exposed in some kind of way. So it's quite interesting again that Uranus is involved in this eclipse. So we could also get some very unpredictable, uncertainty, something perhaps maybe very eccentric, in some kind of way, really kind of popping out.
Would you say also, thinking that you are esoteric, I know astrology of the soul, so and there's other astrologers I work with that also follow esoteric, which is not like, so in other words, here Libra, which is the rising sign, the esoteric ruler fascinated me. I realized is Uranus.
Is Uranus, that's correct.
Yes. Uranus.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting.
It has more power here.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't rule that out in any way, shape, or form. That's all a part of the story also as well, that Uranus being conjoined to the sun in that eclipse, also being the esoteric ruler of the ascendant, is also bringing something again to is trying to show us something
to maybe listen up to the changes, that it's not just against us, but it's really working in our betterment, that we need to make lemonade out of lemons.
Right. I mean, with Uranus, definitely. And with Uranus, we know Uranus is connected or associated with revolutions and huge changes, and it may come as, the changes very often are very sudden and unpredictable, and out of the blue, very shocking in some kind of way. It can take an eccentric turn also too. I feel that we need to be very mindful, about really from now, because with eclipses, we know that eclipses, although this eclipse is on the 5th of May, eclipses normally we start. There's like a build up, about 2 weeks, a month before that time. So we're actually in that range right now.
We are, because April 20th will be a solar. And today, I always have to look at the calendar because I'm working forwards and backwards. It's the 16th in 4 days. So we have been feeling all of this whole system of shifting.
And, so something's building, we're getting so much happening all throughout the world. I mean,
and interacted, because really Aquarius, which if you look, thinking here, Pluto, which the modern ruler is Uranus. Again, that's a immediate feedback to it. Besides Saturn as traditional, but the point being that it's networking. It's the group. What are we trying to find like-minded people with?
Exactly. So especially with Uranus also as well, and Pluto in Aquarius. We know Aquarius is a humane sign, so it deals with that humanity, people, socialism. So these are the things where we're really beginning to see. We'll see what's happening in France, and even in the US as well, with Donald Trump, and stuff like that. There's so much stuff that's actually going on.
It's when you bring up France, if by checking the news, the powerful declaration, which I think really has a lot to do with the fact that we're in the sign of Aries right now, where people are breaking away for causes like what are we defending, and realizing that we can separate, and it's a fire sign. It's very instinctive.
So very dynamic.
It's coming across the nation in different ways.
Exactly. And with Mars also in Cancer at the moment, we know Cancer is very, it's family. It's very tribal. It's tribal. Who's we want to fight for the tribe. We want to defend the family. We want to so that's that.
And safety, like what is going to protect me?
Exactly.
Protect the home.
So we're getting this Aries, Mars in Cancer kind of energy also at work, and then.
But what's fascinating when I look at this chart, because we have much more ahead, but this is fine. This is the first half hour here, and talking to my audience too, is going back to Venus up there with the blue here, because it's in this tension motivational square for energy with Neptune. So meaning that thinking of Venus and looking at the ascendant, kind of tying this together as the traditional ruler that we always think of with Libra, for balance and trying to coordinate and balance the opposites.
Seeking that equality.
But in esoteric, Mercury, it's in Gemini. So it's Venus happens to be the ruler of Mercury in esoteric. So it's teaching love. And here it is in this tension with Neptune in its own sign of Pisces, which involves the energies greater than ourselves. So it's really, the chart is pushing us to focus on, and I'm speaking of this in contrast to our causes, but to try to find out what unifies us and through love.
Yeah, definitely. And to open our hearts. I mean, the Venus on a collective level, the Venus Neptune is pointing towards an area where we need to be more compassionate, more sympathetic, more empathetic, more loving, and we need to communicate that. And that's the Gemini, which she's in. And let's not forget even the Pisces, where Neptune is at. That is also the sign where Venus is also exalted as well. So there's a real dynamic there, definitely within that square. And squares are about resolution. They're about making things happen. Yes, they can be a bit of a struggle, but it's like, come on, you got to push, you got to fight for this. Anytime a square is involved, because a square has a kind of Martian energy to it. So there's something very dynamic and potent about it that's indicating like, okay, we got to fight for it. We got to push for this. We got to, fight for love in some kind of way. We got to push that love. We got to do it.
Very good. I know in vibrational astrology, which I've been studying just this last few months, the beginning, squares absolutely represent that motivation and and they say that what the problem that people think of with squares is that really it doesn't take into context what somebody else wants. It's trying to find a resolution, and that might be conflicting with somebody else. So but there is this power. I like, as you say. I wonder what the next slide is.
And there's also with Venus, Neptune as well. There's a great sense of idealism with that combination also too. And we also have to remember that Venus is also about our values. What do we value? And we know Neptune is a very collective planet. So there's something here about also how we, Venus in Gemini, how we communicate our values on a collective level so that it's beneficial for all. It serves all. It's how can we make our values more spiritual? Again, Neptune,
I love
more
it.
Sacred. And how can we communicate that? Yeah.
And this drives right back to our concern about AI. Not to say that AI is not, it's capable of many things, because there's been I did a poem in it, and it was I gave him 3 words. Give me a poem, and that's all I've done with it. But there's a creative group I know that did a lot of little storylines. So but it's powerful. It's really like changing the stories. It's integrating a whole nother force.
Definitely. And I think we it's somewhat in the early stages, but I mean, it's still showing us here a potential of something. I mean, can we imagine in 5-10 years time where it's going to be at? I mean, and it's already doing things that are quite like quite impressive. A friend of mine just the other day was he was talking about, he asked it to do something to do with one of the African divination systems, and it knew it, and it came up with the, it spoke of it. It's like, wow, like this stuff's not even translated in English, but yet it knew, and it's it mentioned about the specific divination and how it's performed and what it does and the meaning of it. It's like, whoa, that's scary. Like I wouldn't even, but it's huge stuff. It's huge stuff.
It is
revolutionary, just like how, again, with Shakespeare, how he revolutionized literature and back in 1608, our way of thinking is going to shift.
Back then, because we have a few minutes, just a few here before we take our little breakaway for recorded announcements, is that this eclipse is in the Saros, Saros, for those people listening, series, and it's 141 for the lunar ones that started in 1608 around the globe. And so going also with the mean Greenwich chart here, it's interesting because it has a Pisces, 24 degrees, Pisces, which is the esoteric ruler of Pluto, which shifts back to ours now.
Yeah.
But also in this, there is another T-square of resolution conflict that we've been working through, you could say.
Right.
Jupiter. And Jupiter was squaring exactly these nodes. So we have a lot, the lunar nodes, which with eclipses.
Yeah.
And it's all in fixed signs. And Jupiter will be going into Taurus.
That's
in
that's
May
right.
16th.
In May, you're right.
So
that's right.
But this is right it's at that world point, because 15 degrees in any of the fixed signs is considered relates globally. It's a power, one of those sensitive points.
Definitely, most definitely.
So it's interesting to think it had to do about philosophy to begin with, just thinking our bigness.
Philosophy, which is somewhat connected also with religion and things like that, and
changing.
Literature. We have to remember that Jupiter is also, even in the mythology, we know he's connected with wisdom, higher education, and universities, and philosophies of life. So that is what Jupiter is about. So anytime Jupiter's in the mix, we can expect something either philosophical, sometimes political or religious, or sometimes educational, or something wisdom orientated to spring up. But also with this chart, what I find quite very interesting is the degree of this, because it's 24 degrees of Pisces, and Neptune's not too far away from that degree right now. I think he's about 20.
Yes, you're right. We have a lot to talk about when we come back.
Yeah, so we're getting sensitive points coming back up.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. I have Israel Ajose with me, the current president of Astrological Lodge of London, and with his site, Sacred Planets. And we'll be right back on this special guest edition for the lunar eclipse coming up on May 5th. Keep tuned. We'll be back. Thank you. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We're currently in the period of Aries. By leaving a cycle based upon completion, the energy of Aries sparks initiation, creating action to separate into a new cycle of life. It's a fire sign, which means it will involve great emotion. And because separation may create resistance, it also takes great courage to break away to new ways of becoming.
This is Martha Norwalk, every Sunday morning beginning at 9 a.m. Thanks in part to Natasha Venter at angelicclarification.com. We cover the world of animals. This week, April 23rd, it's an unexpected encore. Tune in to hear my last dog training, behavior, and teaching show with Walter Stoffel, author of Lance, A Spirit Unbroken. Review or catch up Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
This is Sue Minahan, host and founder of Talk Cosmos. It's time to share news about the KKNW Listener Survey. Take this opportunity to let the station management know about your favorite shows, your likes and dislikes, and what you want to hear on the station. Help shape KKNW's future by letting your voice be heard. Simply go to www.1150kknw.com. Click the 2023 Listener Survey image up near the top of the page. Entries begin Monday, March 27, all through Sunday, April 23rd, when a happy winner's announced. Because there's a bonus, too. Filling out the survey gives you a chance winning a round-trip passage for two on the Victoria Clipper to Victoria, BC, Canada, plus a $100 gift certificate to Famous Dave's Restaurant. Find all the complete contest rules at 1150kknw.com. So log online for all the details. Great prizes just might be yours. Do get your voice heard by filling out the listener survey at 1150kknw.com and help improve the KKNW station by sharing your thoughts now. Good luck and a big thank you for all your past listenership from Sue Minahan at Talk Cosmos.
Talk Cosmos brings you leading-edge astrological conversations with hour-long programs each week on KKNW. The show goes live every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on Facebook and YouTube, along with daily chats throughout the week on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel. While you're there, make sure you click like and subscribe buttons so you can get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or, if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. So, grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
Get your daily dose of variety. Alternative Talk 1150.
Oh, yay, we're back. Israel, right off the bat, I'm going to ask you, and I hadn't suggested, but do you have an upcoming class, lecture, event? I know you with the Astrological Lodge of London or personally. Yes, go ahead.
Well, the Astrological Lodge of London, we do Monday, most Monday evenings. We're on holiday at the moment, but we are resuming back tomorrow. So that will be our first day back for our summer term. And so every Monday at 7 p.m. UK time, we have two lectures. We have one from 7 till 8, and then there'll be a second lecture starting roughly around 8 and finishes at 9, which is also available online as well. So you can go to the website. Tomorrow we've got Bernard Eccles talking in the first half, and in the second half we've got a lady named Anita. So great, two wonderful speakers. And so that all that information, if people are interested in booking, they can go to the site www.astrolodge.co.uk, and that's every Monday. So you can go on the web, and all the different lectures and talks are presented there. I'm actually speaking even not tomorrow Monday, but the following week. I will be speaking, at the lodge, and I'm speaking on the part of fortune. So, if people are interested, again, they can go to the website. And so those are the, really up and coming things. We have, regular lectures pretty much every week. We are going to miss a few in May because we've got a few bank holidays over here in the UK. So there won't be none. But other than that, pretty much every Monday catches at the Astrological Lodge of London.
Oh, good. That's great. I would love to hear more about the part of fortune. That sounds fabulous. And for Talk Cosmos, I'm always trying to remember, we have always on the 4th next Sunday will be Kaleidoscope Visions, which is with a transit reading and a natal chart who participates and talks. But the last Sunday, there's 5 this month, and that will be Astro Jam. Israel will be returning along with several other people on this really dynamic, fun mystery time when there's 2 mystery charts. Nobody knows what they are. And we talk it out through the planets and then stop and talk about, oh my goodness, that's what this was, and go further into detail. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so back to our, thank you very much. We will go to the next chart. Oh, yes. I wanted, because of the fact that there's Jupiter here, so prominent, and I'll show on a bi-wheel.
Yeah.
I thought there's a tarot card, Wheel of Fortune. That would you say that Jupiter represents? Yes.
Oh, most definitely. Okay. Yeah. It's definitely a Jupiterian energy. It's connected with, expansion. It is somewhat what it says on the tin. It's fortune. We know that when it comes to fortune or great fortune, Jupiter is the planet that represents that. And the Wheel of Fortune, in the tarot readings, when it does come out, it will, in most cases, it will often symbolize perhaps a turning point or an opportunity or chance for something fortunate happening, depending obviously on the context of the reading. But yeah, it's definitely Jupiter. Jupiter is that planet we associate it with fortune, luck. Is known as the planet of luck.
Yeah, that it returns. Yes, things may be unpredictable, but fortune will return.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is a fascinating concept to add to this because at the very beginning, Jupiter was there that was showing in 1608 that things were, that life is ever evolving, of course, but that what we give comes back in some framework, but to work with intuition. And
that's, so, most definitely.
Yeah. And then here, let's see, I go to the next.
Jupiter.
Right. And Jupiter itself, it makes everything big.
Exactly.
Good, bad, different. It's going to make
it doesn't, whatever it touches or whatever it influences in the chart, just like we saw in that chart that it's on the square with the nodes, from the chart from 1608. Again, it's going to expand, and it's quite crucial actually squaring the nodes, because the nodes there, you've both got both north node and south node. We know the south node tends to be the one that we have to be a bit more mindful of, because it's the dragon's tail, so it's connected with endings and destructiveness. But then we've got the north node, which is the dragon's head, which is more kind of like, it has more of an increased nature. So one node kind of has an increasing nature, and one has a kind of let go kind of nature.
Yes.
So by Jupiter squaring the both of them, we're going to get obviously exaggerations or expansions on both sides.
That's true, because, and I love the nodes, and that nodes means meeting points, folks. It's where the moon and the sun's orbits cross, and it's an 18-month pattern of these, the signs at either end. But if we're having, it's like a check and balance system, I think, of, because maybe our patterns that we've brought in with, there may be something that's being misused or needs to be eliminated, so that we can adapt to this opposite gift that has our growth involved. Here, with esoteric astrology of the soul, I thought I would identify to people, and I found this on astrologyanswers.com, but it's the soul level is esoteric, and that it's intention for spiritual, which is sacred, as you bring up. And the traditional is qualities of, it's suggesting the core, our personality, whereas this is more attributes for your soul. So here, looking at it, there's just a few brief ones we'll go through, because looking at the ascendant sign for each of these. So with Libra, which is the one that we currently are having for in Greenwich,
it is
Uranus, as we had brought up.
Right.
And so it's really getting to the point that here, Libra trying to coordinate, you could say, the polarities, which Libra is self and other, but it's to bring that place of love and compassion, which is so interesting.
Yeah, most definitely. Esoteric astrology, which is something somewhat coined or brought about by her name skips my mind now, but it will come to
Alice Bailey.
Alice Bailey, that's right.
Yeah, that's fine, because I have her book. It was given to me. I have Alice.
That's right. Alice Bailey. She was the one who really sort of like brought it to light, and to just explain that the different astrologies, they're all valid, but esoteric astrology is functioning more on a soulful
adds another dimension,
perspective. Yeah. And it's quite interesting with Venus and Uranus as well, because they are connected again through the mythology, because it's actually when the castration, when Saturn castrates his father Uranus, it's his blood that spills into the ocean, and it's out of that's where Venus is born. So in some way, Uranus is her father, although we could say Saturn is her father also as well in some kind of way. It's kind of like she's got two fathers in a sense, but they're both connected. But it's actually Uranus's penis that is thrown into the ocean, and that's where Venus, Aphrodite, springs out from. So they do have a very strong relationship, and they both rule air signs, Uranus being connected with Aquarius and Venus obviously with Libra. Again, the air signs trine, so they have a very dynamic relationship, but obviously in the esoteric, Uranus is the ruler. So
I am so glad to have you bring that up. I actually have these two planets conjunct at 29 degrees Libra at the very top of my chart at my MC, and I've often thought, it is very strong in my chart. And for me, I've often thought that Venus is like, every parent, the best of a parent wants the best for their child. So Uranus, up until that point, had been producing life with Gaia, Earth. You talk about as a living entity as we are, just abundantly, just everywhere. Whereas, and so the point is that in its heart, you could say that creativity is an act of love. For Venus to be Aphrodite of this energy of desire and of all desire and essentially the best of love in its best form is like, what a gift. It's a fascinating
most definitely
relationship.
Quite wonderful in terms of their relationships with each other. So
So going to Pisces, which is, and I'm trying to get, we'll look at it, but the other chart has, that's right. It's in 1608. I think it was 24 degrees Pisces. And you were before the break, you're mentioning that right now Neptune is approaching that degree. It's esoteric. It's Pluto, which again shows this transition that this particular Scorpio lunar eclipse at 14 degrees Scorpio, which is so interesting because it's right close to that 15 degrees. It's at the fixed sign, right? So it's right there. And we'll see that later is, okay, I was getting myself lost here, but it was.
Well, we're talking about Neptune and Pluto. They have a tendency to lose people and bury people. So
we're going down under to come back up. So here we know that Pluto wants life, and it's going to eliminate anything that isn't. And so it's willing to look at what's hidden in the darkness to bring light to it. So it's saying essentially esoterically to inspire and lift humanity again through love and compassion. So here we have this bi-wheel between 1608, and thank you, Israel. You're so wonderful. I've been looking forward to this talk very much because we do talk, and without other people, I get to hear, although I do talk a lot and I'm going to be quiet.
Oh, no, not at all.
I get to hear you because look at this. It's such an amazing chart, and this is new for you. You didn't realize that I would have this up.
I didn't know. Okay, so
no.
it makes it clearer now with the Neptune pretty much on the ascendant of the 1608 chart. With this full moon lunar eclipse coming up, I'm quite. What's very interesting here is the 2nd and 8th house emphasis. There's a very strong 2nd, 8th house emphasis here, and we know that these are houses that are associated with money, finances, other people's money, banking, investments, security, resources. They're houses that focus very much on resources. So that's quite interesting, especially also just in the natal chart of the US, the Pluto return and things of that nature again, which is actually in your 2nd house and so on and so forth. How this, again, and there's been a lot of stuff out there about the economic, changes and rises and not enough money and everything, inflation,
food.
Food. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we may be getting a lot of that, more of that coming up again in the next couple of weeks, especially perhaps maybe more closer around the eclipse on May the 5th. But also as well, again, the sun is pretty much on that Jupiter.
Yes, it is. And I think, if I may say, I'm glad you brought that up, because we're looking at hundreds of years ago in 1608. So that's what? That's 4 plus 2. That's like 400 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
400 plus. So that many, many centuries away. Yeah. But now we're at this point where we're looking at what might have been at that point, people were adjusting their philosophies and their, as we had just discussed, looking at past and present, which has been happening a lot through, gee whiz, with religions going through the Reformation and here with the United States being created and on and on. So now we're at this point where a couple of dynamics are happening. We're focusing more on the consciousness. That's it. We're getting more conscious with the sun. We have this expectation of Uranus bringing in extra unknown factors, but we're concentrated more on the spiritual, which we haven't been. They tried to. Well, through the past, it's been an effort through looking at. Well, the Reformation, of course, brought. The individual to have the capacity to think about their own spiritual life. But now people are more internalizing their own guidance and trying to be listening to, like you say, these, like in the very beginning, it's a living language, and through these the spiritual signs, whether they're for the greatest good of all, the teachings.
And what's also, and it's interesting that again about the spirituality, because something came up just recently with the Dalai Lama and about him, kissing a young boy who was, on stage. I don't know how, but it's been quite a lot of people are talking about it. It seems to be. What's funny is that it actually happened in February, but it's only just come out in the last week or so, and
revealed.
It's all, which is quite interesting, because I think it's part and part. Again, if we're looking at the Jupiter here in the 1608, but also as well, quite not too far from the eclipses. Also Jupiter's, because he's at the tail end of Aries, or coming to the tail end of Aries, depending on what odds we want to give. It's almost like he's been somewhat externally roped in. We may again be hearing something of a philosophical or religious nature, or something within the religion, or maybe a religious
that
figure
supports that action.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
It was misinterpreted, but here is the really understanding, which you would think he's so strongly aware of his role of a leadership and took that on. I mean, at age 2, discovered.
Exactly.
And really been isolated, and so. And sometimes controversy just brings something more to the forefront so that it can be explored more. So I trust that will work itself out. To being
let's hope so.
Positive thing.
But like what you said, I feel again with all these eclipses and these planetary alignments, it's touching on something on a collective level where we have to look at our own inner. What is spirituality for us? How are we defining spirituality? How can we make the world a better place by tapping into elements of our spirituality or spiritual teachings, and how we can better ourselves as individuals, which goes on to better the world as a whole. We are being asked these questions. These planetary configurations they're about that. So it's I find it quite amazing how this upcoming lunar eclipse in Scorpio really it picks up a lot of sensitive points and planets in the chart of the Saros 141
Isn't it?
Of 1608.
It is, because I've heard other astrologers say this is the eclipse that'll be so meaningful. And as I was going back to the roots, which I like to do, I'm too, because I'm thinking to myself, with all these arrows, of course, the 4 arrows, folks, is this grand square. And it's showing, as Israel and I have mentioned, that today's sun, at that eclipse sun is going to be connecting to Jupiter, that's squaring these nodes. But back to Pluto, which you've just brought up, that the Pluto in 1608 was at 01 Taurus, and interestingly,
right now
it's at 0, and it's going to be at 0 Aquarius 5 times altogether. It will be back in June 11th, because I have these written down, and then January 21st, then in, I think, is it July of next year, and November. So it'll keep toggling onto this critical point. That's transformation on steroids.
And when planets do that, when planets sort of like go forward and retrograde and they keep hitting that same spot, it's really telling us something. It's letting us know that is a real sensitive degree. And with Pluto, it's really about transformation, letting go of the old, letting go of what is corrupt, rebirth, regenerating, starting anew. We got to burn the old, get rid of the old things that are no longer serving us as humans anymore, or humanity anymore. That which is stale, stagnant, it's decaying, it's corrupted. We have to eliminate that. That's what Pluto is about, so that the new life can be reborn. So this is a very crucial time for us. It's a very crucial time in history. It's a very crucial time in humanity, where something is trying to show us that it's time for us to change, transform. And again, with this eclipse also being in Scorpio, lunar eclipse being in Scorpio, which is again Pluto's sign, it's urging us to
and thankfully we have Jupiter going into this whole transitional time in Aries, so that we have the courage. We have the courage to look at it, and it can be confrontational, but it takes courage to look at the light. And
most definitely.
But there's been every support, you could say, even with Saturn, but all this support to show that there's great wisdom to share by looking at this language and pattern and in each other and creating. So it's really fascinating for folks. Yes, we're not closing yet, but we have a few minutes. And so just to remind you, I'm with Israel Ajose, and I have on the screen here ways to get a hold of him. His personal is sacredplanets.com. And then, of course, with Astrological Lodge of London, which tomorrow night and every Monday night we'll be having lectures. You can go to Astro Lodge and do subscribe to our channel and subscribe to the newsletter. But it is fascinating to realize how we're tying in with, and we can put that away here. We'll just go with you. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yes, such a mission.
Yeah, great to be here. Great topics. Love it. Looking forward to the upcoming lunar eclipse in Scorpio.
Oh, I know. In fact, I think, come to think of it, if it's on, it's May. No, that's right. When we have our 30th with Astro Jam, we'll be right in the middle.
Right in the middle of it, right?
Yeah, so it's
you're in the middle of the hot stuff.
That's right. We're cooking now.
Yeah, exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, well, happy spring, Israel.
Thank you very much, Sue. It's always a pleasure to be here.
I look forward to more.
Likewise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests connect soul growth patterns with the energetic cycles of astrology. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.